Here are some tips if you're having issues with your beer system. These are things that could occur between your CO2 tank, your draft system, your kegs, etc. So here are some tips and ideas that you can use and try to help you get your system back running. First, your CO2 tank. Make sure you have CO2 on your regulator or bulk tank. This is on, so we have pressure and we have lots of air in there, and the valve is on, so all the air is going into this regulator. The valves are on, and if they're off, it would look like that. You want them down so all the air flows to your coupler. So they're on and flowing to the coupler. Same here. You might have a secondary regulator, and this would have a shut off as well. That is off, this is on. There is air going to the keg. This is going out to the coupler. The coupler is attached. So this system, everything works. I can pour beer out of that faucet and beer out of that one. The keg is empty, so there's not a lot of beer coming out, but it does work. Next problem, you may be out of gas. If the tank is on, which this is fully on, the gauge, this dial will be down to 0, meaning you'll have to replace the CO2 tank. Or if you have a bulk tank, the gauge on the bulk tank will be down to 0 as well, and you need gas. Another problem that could happen, which we talked about in the other video, is your faucet could be stuck, and we showed you how you could make the faucet work again. There's another issue that you may have happen. We have air pressure. The air tank is filled, and sometimes the dials get played with and the pressure could be not set correctly, which I can show you here. I'm pulling, that now went to 0. So you may have to adjust the pressure back to what it normally is. In a kegerator box, normally most people set them between 10 and 14 psi. I'm setting that right there about 11, 12 psi. So you have to look and make sure your pressure is set as well. This one is set at 26, 27. This is actually hooked up to a jockey box. That's what I set jockey box pressures at when we pour beer at festivals. It just depends on your system. If you need help, call the people that you use to clean your lines or get your beer system serviced. The next thing, if your beer isn't running, that you can actually look at is your coupler. Inside your coupler, there's a little white ball called a check ball. If you haven't poured beer in a while and the coupler's been sitting, that ball gets stuck and beer will not come out of the coupler. You can take a screwdriver and hit the ball to loosen it, and then reattach it to the keg, and the beer will pour. Another thing that could happen with your keg and the keg coupler, it could be missing the probe seal that is on the middle bottom of the coupler. You will get not much to come out. Just a lot of air and maybe a little bit of beer, which is going on both of these. So what is usually missing, and I can show you, is missing the probe seal here. This is called the probe seal. This fell off and is missing. So you would have to either change the coupler out or get somebody that can replace the probe seal. And this is what I'm doing. I'm putting a new probe seal on, and then I turn the air off. I'm going to turn the air back on and then attach it back to the keg. I put the new probe seal on, and now beer comes out now. There's also another issue that could happen on a keg that doesn't pour, and you're having air and foam and maybe a little beer come out of the faucet. I'm going to show you what it looks like on top of the keg. There's a seal on top of the keg. The seal could become chipped. This one is not chipped, but if you feel it and look closely, if it was chipped, there would be a chunk out of it. And then what happens is the coupler does not seal properly on the keg, so you won't be able to pour beer. Meaning the keg is no good, and you can get credit issued for that keg because the keg is damaged. Another thing that can happen is when you go to tap a keg, there's a seal on the keg, and you pull it off, and a lot of times a piece of this hard plastic breaks off and ends up right on top of the keg like this. You can see it and feel it. It does blend in well, so you don't notice it, but there's a piece of plastic right there, and that again is blocking the beer from coming out of the keg. So feel around and look for anything. There could be even a piece of paper in there. So, and then it comes out, we reattach the coupler, and beer pours.